What up? Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled. Get that free 30-day trial and a free audiobook, guys. You won't regret it. We got a good one for you. And you know what? Without much further ado, let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Jumbled, your favorite podcast about nothing. I'm Zach.
And I'm Johnny.
Hey, Johnny, we are nearing episode 100 very quickly, dude.
I know. We should probably look at booking flights and hotels and red carpets and shows, fan signings, a book tour, all of that in the next couple months in celebration for episode 100.
Yeah.
And I heard that Joey was finally going to deliver on the doilies that was promised, I think, in episode 10. So
yeah. He's been sitting on them since then. He hasn't been able to sell them because he's no longer associated with the podcast. So,
yep. And we will slap that mofo with the cease and desist so fast.
Yeah, I got my lawyers just waiting, dude.
Our law team, chomping at the bit. They are ready.
They're ready to jump on them if they need to, you know. I don't want to make for like an awkward Christmas, but you know, I'm willing to do what
business,
we need
man.
to do. It is just business. It's just business. Another thing we need to plan for is obviously Joe Rogan being on the podcast.
Absolutely. So in order to celebrate our Joe Rogan plug for the next 2 months or 8 episodes until we hit episode 100, we are going to re-release an episode, one of my favorites. I think it was episode 39.
Yep.
Where we first came up with this awesome idea that our boy Joe Rogan should have us on his show, or we'll be on his show, or even a jumbled shout out for episode 100. Joe Rogan, we love you. Jumbled fans, feel free to tag Joe Rogan in everything Jumble related you can. The more tags, the more likely we'll grab his attention, and the more attention of his we grab, the more likely we'll have an even better episode 100.
100%. There's actually not going to be any new content until episode 100. It's just going to be us re-releasing episode 39 every week.
That's not true. Please don't stop listening.
It's not true. It's not true. But how funny would that be?
It would be ultimate troll. It would probably be bad for our numbers.
We just pretend that it hasn't happened before.
Oh, you know what we should do? Every week we'll just reenact episode 39 live. It'll be a little bit different every time, but
and we try and we hold a contest and we see who can figure out the difference. We throw just a slight difference in.
Oh, yeah. And there'll be prizes that Joe Rogan will provide. Thank you, Joe.
Man, what a kind guy. Anyway, we're gonna throw over to past Johnny and Zach. Take it away, guys.
Enjoy.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Jumbled, your favorite podcast about nothing. I'm Zach.
I'm Johnny.
How's it going, Johnny?
I'm great. Today is a great day in Canada. Do you know what happened today?
I think there's a massive uptick in beaver mating numbers.
I mean, that could be true, but that's not what I'm referring to. Come on. What are you watching right now?
Your face.
Okay. In the background. Because we know you're a diehard Vikings fan.
Yeah. No. Dude, are you trying to get murdered, dude? No, I'm watching, obviously, the Sunday night Packers Steelers game.
Okay.
It's 8:42 left in the fourth quarter. We're losing.
What sport is that?
That's American football.
Okay, so think American football, but not American football.
I think I know where you're going here
Okay.
with it.
Yeah.
You're talking, of course, about Mexican football.
Oh, you're so smart.
Yeah.
But think Mexican football, but with more snow.
Oh, okay. I was really, really trying hard to figure out or think what is at the tip of South America, but I can't remember. I think it's Argentina, maybe. No, it's Canadian football.
Yeah, and do you know what today is?
Unfortunately, I don't. Is this a significant day in Canadian football?
It's the Super Bowl of Canadian football. Do you know what it's called?
I don't even have a good joke I could say about Canadian stuff. Because I don't want to be hokey and just make a maple syrup joke or something like that. It's like
Okay, wait.
got to think of some better stuff.
So I was thinking about last week's episode and how you quizzed me on my knowledge of American Thanksgiving cuisine, and I was obviously thinking like way too out of the box.
Sure.
So now I'm gonna repay the favor with Canadian football facts.
Okay, I'm gonna guess.
So what is today's day called?
The day or
like the game.
The name of the game. Okay, I'm gonna say the Maple Bowl.
The Maple Bowl. Are you serious? You've never actually heard of this?
It might be one of those things that you say it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I think I have heard of that, but it's not something I would recall off the top of my head.
It's the Grey Cup.
You're right. I've never heard of that.
Okay.
The Grey Cup.
Take a guess on when the first Grey Cup took place.
I'm gonna say, well, the first Super Bowl was 1965. So I'm gonna say the first Grey Cup would have been. I'm gonna go like 1978, 1979.
Well, how stereotypical American of you to think that, oh, we came first and you guys copied us.
Oh, shit.
Zach, you're going to be real pleased to know that the birth of your beloved American football actually started in Canada in the 1900s. 1909 was the first Grey Cup.
Well, thank you, Canada. You've given me now two great things in my life.
I'm big enough to count as two myself, so you get three.
Oh, so three.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, so we're learning some things here.
Yes. I'm doing just about as well as you did last week.
Yeah. How do you think there are 20 teams in the CFL? More than 30 or less than 10? 10, 20, 30. What do you think?
I mean, I'm going to say there are... 30 seems like a lot. I mean, there are 32 in the NFL. There are... I'm going to say 20. I'm going to cut it in the middle because 10 seems like it's too few. Like, because Canada's big. Like, it's a big country. Like, surely you have enough cities to be able to house more than 10. It's not just like a city every per. Am I wrong?
Well, we're clearly seeing how much you've come to Canada. So there are 9 teams in the CFL.
Oh, Jesus. So, wait. How many people get into the playoffs? Or how many teams get into the playoffs here?
I think it's
like 4 teams?
No. No, it's definitely not. It's like 6.
Six teams into the playoffs. So you have like
I don't know,
a round...
Keep changing the structure. It used to be like East and West. But there's so few teams, and there's more like technically on the western side of the country. So they like do this like random sometime you're in the west, sometimes you're in the east.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's to balance out travel schedules.
That makes sense. I guess I should have. I was trying not to think oh yeah, it's it's Canada, so I don't know, 10, like that just seems like a really small number for any sport to only have 10 teams.
It's pretty sad, eh? Okay, so 9 teams.
Man, so they have like a first round bye on each side or something like that.
Yeah, there's a first round bye.
Gotcha.
Okay, so
I'm failing so hard, dude. This is like, at least you said casserole last week. Like I haven't done anything correctly.
Okay, how many downs are in Canadian football?
I'm gonna stick with 4.
Nope.
4 downs. Is it 3?
It is 3. Okay.
Damn it.
Ball bigger or smaller?
So it has to be either bigger or smaller. There's
or
not,
the same.
like
Or the same. Yeah, that's fair. Or the same.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna assume, since you didn't throw that in first, that it's either bigger or smaller. Well, the field is bigger, so I'm gonna say,
how much?
I think it's like 20 yards wider, maybe something like that.
It is wider. I don't remember how many yards it's wider, but
I know you guys don't. You guys, is it measured in meters?
No, it's yards as well.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna say the ball is slightly smaller.
It's actually significantly bigger.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like a rugby ball.
It's not quite that big. It's I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up, or if our fact checker ever, if we ever decide on the fact checker. We've had so many applications to go through.
I have like a queue of like 40 different people that I need to go through their resumes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but they just keep rolling in more by the hour, actually. So.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. But I want to say it's like 1.5 times. Like it's 50% bigger, I guess.
I'm going to get one of these. Do you have more?
I got a couple more questions.
Okay.
So relating to the balls, for the longest time there was a CFL promo when they were like, they tried to compete with Sunday football, which was like ridiculous. But their catchphrase was CFL, our balls are bigger.
That's a really good slogan, dude.
I loved it.
No joke. That's awesome.
So, well, I don't know how to ask this to you in a question, but I'm sure you'll find it really interesting, and it's something that I really, really, really wish the NFL would add into the NFL. So if you miss a field goal, okay, you're kicking a field goal.
Okay.
You miss the field goal, but it goes through the back of the end zone. You get 1 point.
Really?
Yeah. So if you punt the ball through the end zone, you get 1 point.
Oh wow. That makes it a little bit like you almost have to play the ball a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, it gets better.
You can't just
So if you on a kickoff, if you kneel in the end zone, you give up 1 point.
Oh, okay. So you have to take it out of the end zone.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised depending on how good the kick was or how deep it was. A lot of the times people will take the 1 point and give up the point.
So you give up the point and then you take the ball out of the end zone a certain amount?
They reset it to I think it's the 25.
Oh, okay.
What else is kind of funky about the CFL? Ooh, average salary. What do you think the average salary is of a CFL player?
I feel like you're throwing me curveballs, and I'm not going to guess more than the NFL.
That would be a safe guess to not guess that.
Because like an average NFL player makes more, but I don't know. I would probably say, is this U.S. dollars?
I mean, I can do the quick conversion for you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm going to say 300,000.
42,000.
Holy shit, dude. So those dudes are like, they're like bagging groceries and stuff.
Yeah,
like outside of
the top quarterbacks make like 400,000.
Oh my god, dude!
But that's like, rare. So each team's salary cap is like 4.5 million or something total.
Holy shit, man!
Yeah,
wow.
It's kind of fucked, eh?
Yeah, that is.
There's so many people who have full-time jobs during the season or in the off season, like sell cars or real estate to like try and make up for.
That makes sense. So it's like, Coach, I can't make practice. I got to work my shift at the Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Or whatever the Canadian equivalent of that is. Unlimited popcorn shrimp. Where can you get that in Canada?
So
just moving on.
I'm looking up our boy Jerome, and I don't know if this is accurate for his salary, but if it is.
Jerome Messam, by the way, he's a running back for the
what city do I live in?
Calgary. It starts with an M, I think.
Nope.
It's some French sounding word. I don't know.
It's not a French sounding word at all. Stampeders.
Oh, what's the other? There's like a...
The Alouettes, Montreal Alouettes.
That's what I was... So it's Montreal. Okay.
Yeah, they have a French sounding name. So yeah. I've had two figures for him. One was 300,000 and one was like 450.
Oh, so he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's chilling.
He's doing all right.
He's not hurting by any means.
No, I mean he's making about 7-8 times as much as I am. So he's doing okay.
That's true. Okay, so is there anything I can cap off? Oh, you know what is kind of interesting? If you recall a few episodes ago, you guys were talking about Inuit people and Eskimos, and I gave you guys shit for saying Eskimos. So my hometown, Edmonton, their football team is called the Edmonton Eskimos. And
so it's sort of a similar situation for like the Washington Redskins or the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, so they're actually looking at renaming the team, and it's this huge thing. And it's, I mean, I don't know. There's both sides to it. It's challenging. I think ultimately they need to be respectful and just move away from those cultural references like that. But
sure, I think I'm of the belief that the Chiefs is okay. Because it's not, like, disparaging. Like, the Redskins.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. And the Eskimos, honestly, too. Like, that's fairly, like, a derogatory term. Like, I would never say it to anyone. So then a team shouldn't be named after it, you know? Anyways, to move on real quick, closing it out. Jerome Messam lost the Grey Cup today. And that's what I was doing. Man. Which is why we're recording later, and I did apologize. Well, it was twofold. One, for some reason, I thought the Grey Cup was next weekend.
Gotcha.
So I was like, cool, I'll tell you today that we'll record later next weekend, blah, blah, blah. And then after a strenuous day of shopping, Ali was like, oh, yeah, we're going to our friend's house for dinner and watch the game. And I was just like, well, I screwed that one up. And then...
You're like, what is on the schedule? What do I have to do tonight?
Something important? I don't know. Maybe. And then while we were there were some boys out from Saskatchewan talking some mean shit about go-karting.
Go figure. And this dude's from Saskatchewan. Oh, man, they're the worst.
No, they're pretty chill dudes, but they were very Canadian, which I loved. But they were talking about go-karting, and you know me and loving my go-karting. And I was like, yo, if we're going to do this, let's go right now. So then we got in a couple quick races of the go-karts, to which I whooped some ass.
You've got a go-kart?
I mean, I don't have a go-kart. We went to an indoor go-karting.
Oh, okay, I got you. So are we talking like go-karts like the higher CC engines? Or
these ones are electric, and they max out at 70 kilometers an hour.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like
I know
55 miles, I think that's what that comes
dude,
out to.
that's pretty sick.
It's
I went
pretty fast.
we me and the wife on our honeymoon. This has been 4 years ago. We went to Branson, Missouri, and they have go-karts there. And I was like, oh, I want to do the go-karts because they like the track looks really cool. It's got like the spiral section, like you got to go up the spiral, and then at the top, like there's a big ramp that goes down.
That sounds real cool.
Yeah, it was real cool. And then, but these weren't like the same go-karts you're talking about. These were like the smaller go-karts. Yeah. So my weight came into play, and I didn't win.
That's I mean, there's pros and cons to weight, especially in like more competitive go-karts. So
sure.
I mean, when I was in Winnipeg, I was in a go-kart league for a couple of years, which was awesome.
Wait, there are go-kart leagues?
Like every Formula One driver started go-karts.
Wow, that's pretty
It's
cool.
like the best way to learn like simple, basic driving ability, like learning lines and braking points and whatnot.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
But I haven't gone in a while. But it was nice to get back out in the car and burn some rubber. These ones are nice because they're electric, so they're not too loud, and they don't smell bad. So the ones in Winnipeg were really fun because they were like 2-stroke, but you just smelt like exhaust. Like I would come home from kart league and Allie would be like, you just need to shower immediately because you can't be in the house. But I kind of miss that smell. It was just like so bad for you smelling. I loved it.
Sure. I can't remember where it was, but I remember at one point going to a go-kart track, but these were like go-karts that had they looked like small cars. Like you'd get closed, like there's a like I think you had to climb through the top of it or something like that. But they like closed you in, and like you get all latched up and whatnot. So it was really weird. It was almost like driving a car, but it was like just
a mini
one
car?
seat, obviously.
That's funny.
Just like one seat. But yeah, man, it was pretty nuts. But I'm big into go-karts. I like them a lot. My grandpa made me a go-kart, which is pretty cool in and of itself. Like he bent the steel with, he's rolling the bar and whatnot himself.
That's sick.
Welding it and piecing it all together. And but by the time he built it, like I was almost too big for it, which sucked.
No,
like
that's a bummer.
He built it for me, my brother, and my sister to be able to use it. But yeah, I'd almost outgrown it by the time he.
Yeah, that's
so
tough.
I got like a good summer.
Yeah, well. Is it still kicking around?
No, I think it's either somebody else took it or he sold it or something like that.
I have a buddy who has a go-kart, and he has an amazing go-kart story of driving it on the street and then the cops chasing him through a field. I have a lot of stories like that actually growing up. But he's had that thing for, 8 years now. And I've been trying to buy it from him. Like, it's not a great go-kart, but it's a fun go-kart.
Right.
And it's been kind of rotting away. And now he has a nephew who's like 2 right now. He's like, no, I'm saving it for Will. And I was like, dude, he's not going to be able to drive it for like 5 years. We'll get him a new one. And his wife was like, please just take it. It's taking up space. Please just take it. So I'm just waiting some time to get out there and steal it. Just run away.
Sure. Yeah, man. Just drive it through the field.
No, I'm not
Apparently
nowhere
that's
near
a
as
good way.
brave as Matt is with that. Oh, Matt. I think he listens to this sometimes. He might, shout out to my boy Matt Rayner.
Hey, shout out to you, Matt. I don't know you, but thank you for listening.
Well, you might get to meet him on September 1st, 2018.
Yeah. I am very hopeful that I do get to meet you, sir. Are you done with go-karts?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only have a couple things written down.
All right.
One thing that I have written down, last night I had a dream that you were wrestling bulls.
Bulls?
Yeah.
Wow, you think really highly of me. I appreciate that. How was I doing all right? Like, was I at least surviving?
Yeah, man. The dream involved you German suplexing a bull. No joke.
I mean, back in the university days, I was pretty big.
You're pretty swole, dude.
I know.
No joke.
But now I'm like old and average, which is actually kind of fun.
Old and average. Gosh, yep, that's the name of the podcast this week. Old and average.
Old and average. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I have learned that. Especially as I've been getting back into jiu-jitsu, and like when I was doing it when I was, early 20s, and now I'm like 30 and rolling with kids who are like 18 to 25 in their prime, and they're just monsters. And I have learned about patience.
And their ligaments aren't on the verge of tearing at any given moment.
Yeah, basically. I'm just like, to be young again, which is funny because it's only 5 years, but a lot happens in 5 years, as you know, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, a lot's happened for me in 5 years. I know I've packed on some weight, and although it's funny, I was thinking about it the other day, Joe, thinking about I don't know, a couple months back on an episode where Joe was talking about his wrist, and he's thought he might have carpal tunnel or something like that, and I was like, I'm not having anything. I'm not having any problems. Like, I'm good. I'm feeling great, except for the fact that I eat, way too much fast food, like just generally don't take care of myself at all.
You were a runner, man. You gotta find that running spirit.
It's true, man. I used to run, just get on a treadmill and run 5 miles like it's nothing.
I remember when you were like, "Hey, John, I'm going to work out with you. Let's do this." And then you would like work out with me one day and be like, "I'm never doing that again." And then you'd come and be like, "I'm just going to run today." And then you would run for like 2 hours straight. And I was like, "How do you how is this humanly possible?" You're like, "I don't know. I like to run." And I was like, "You're a sick man, Zach."
What you don't know is I am part Nigerian.
You're part something, because I just remember even Wally would be like, Zach works out like once a month, and then he runs like 15 miles and like barely breaks a sweat. I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I make up for it, man. I just go super cardio one day every 2 months, and then
you run
that's it.
In one time what most people run in like 3 weeks, and they're like, there we go.
I just every other month do a marathon, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it worked.
It's true.
But yeah, so I suplexed a bull, eh?
You suplexed a bull, man, but that was it. Like, it was like it was one of those dreams or one of those nights where I was just having like a 30-second dream, and then the next dream, whatever, blah blah blah. But the only one I remembered out of that whole night was you German suplexing a bull. So
I wonder if there's like some kind of hidden meaning behind that dream.
What would Freud say? Does he say you're battling with your sexuality or something like that?
Everything to him came down to sexuality, right? Which, I mean, is he wrong? Like, I think genetically we're designed for like one purpose.
Yeah.
And you're doing that purpose. Good job, Zach.
Hey, it is what it is, man.
Did you, speaking of reproduction, sorry, I didn't want to jump into your
Sorry, the Packers game is winding down, so here for the next 5 minutes, I may or may not be
paying attention to
completely here.
Awesome.
But I am here. I'm listening.
So I saw an article or a headline. I didn't read it at first. That was you could get $35,000 to donate a testicle. Did you see that?
No, but I mean that sort of seems right.
Yeah, I don't know. So I did some research, and it turns out that it was like fake, or like it happened once, but it was for a very particular incident or something. I don't know. I need to do some more digging, because I was like, I mean, I have two.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to. I really don't want to have kids, but I still have the option with one.
Sure.
And I was like, and I have a wedding to pay for, and all of that balances out really nicely.
Sure.
So I was like joking with Al today when we were shopping that I'm going to sell a testicle and maybe a kidney, and
don't do the kidneys, man. You never know when one of your kidneys is gonna go.
Yeah. But sell something, and then buy a sick car again. And she was laughing, and then I was like, I'll show you laughing at me. And then I looked it up and was like, oh, my testicles are worthless.
You can, you can just donate your seed.
Yeah, but so I did it. That was like one of the options. Like you can get $35 to $200 depending on like who you are as a human, I guess, for your seed. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't. By the time you get there, and like that's so uncomfortable, and like to really make that lucrative, like you're gonna go like once a day, but twice a day. I don't know. There's got to be
you got to regiment it. So you do one day, you do your seed. The next day you do blood.
Yeah.
And then you just. I think there's like a limit on how many times you can go to any given facility, at least in the U.S. Like
could alternate.
So like, yeah, and I know that there aren't that many places to go to donate. At least as far as semen goes. I know there's places to donate your blood everywhere, but
so I thought about that and was like, but then you still have a kid, and I don't know mentally if I'd be okay with that.
You don't know if you'd be okay with your genetics being out there and some other kid walking around. You 20 years later, you walk up to a kid and he just looks just like you.
I mean, let's be honest. That kid would be a lucky kid. But I feel like,
True.
Though I don't want a kid, if I had one, I'd want to be part of its life. So I don't know. I think that would be weird. Plus like, how many babies can come from like one donation? You're going to have like 15 little Johns out there.
You only have 15 in the entirety. They're all just like really big. They're just like the size of like a pea or something like that.
Like see their mouths.
just ferocious.
Just eating the egg instead of going into it. Could you imagine? There's got to be at some point like a story of someone who like donated a bunch of sperm for whatever reason, money or to spread their beautiful genetics.
Sure.
And then it's like a kid finds them. It's like, hey, you're my dad. And they're like, oh, all right, cool. And then like 2 years later, it's like, hey, you're my dad. And you're like, oh, this again, cool. And then like for the 8th time around, you're like, oh my God, I don't even care anymore.
How many more of you are there? About 2 million?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they break it down not quite to each individual sperm. Right. But, maybe they do. I don't know.
I mean, they could.
I did see, though, that like an egg from a woman was worth like $3,000 to $5,000 or something.
Yeah. Are you talking about, just an egg? Or are you talking about...
Yeah, you leave an egg... And then they fertilize the egg and then implant it into another woman. I'm assuming. I'm not a doctor by any means.
Right, but that's just the egg. That's not the ovary.
Yeah, just the egg. So it's like, well, you drop I don't know, how many eggs do women go through a month?
1.
Is it 1? If you have 2 ovaries?
It's 1.
Is it 1?
It's 1 per menstrual
cycle. So you could make like $30,000 a year. Just not having babies.
It's a good idea.
I need to get on this egg.
It just makes sense.
Zach, can you inject me with a bunch of eggs? I got a wedding to pay for.
It's sort of like the goats that they injected with spider DNA.
What?
To make spider silk to like mass produce spider silk.
That's a thing?
That's a thing. Yeah, they had a goat and they injected spider DNA, like a specific chromosome or something like that. They injected into the embryo while it was in the womb, and then when it was born and it matured enough to make milk, it had spider silk in its milk that could be extracted.
That is next level. I did hear. Speaking of like genetics, and again, I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. But that there was like something called CRISPR, and it was like the first time they tried to alter the human DNA by like flooding it with a bunch of like this really specific genomes or something. I don't know. It was like way above my head. But yeah, apparently it was to treat this kind of disease, and that they're talking about how is the first time it's gone to human trials, and this guy's using it to like try and treat a disease. But it basically, you flood your body with whatever piece of your DNA to counteract that piece of your DNA that makes you have like blue eyes or brown hair or this disease. And then it just eventually like resets your DNA to be like, okay, we don't have this disease because we have so much of this DNA saying we don't instead of we do. And then it like gets rid of it. So I don't know.
Awesome.
I don't know how long that process will take before like this guy, hopefully he survives and it's successful. But they were talking about like the implications that could mean for like designer babies or like treating dementia and other like cognitive issues. Like how incredible is that? Like that, you know, that's probably 10 to 20 years away. Like in our lifetime, something like that will be like anything could be treatable. Hey, Zach, guess what?
What, Johnny?
I'm actually doing an Audible spot. Or am I?
How weird would it be if it wasn't an Audible spot? No, this is an Audible spot. Guys, as with every episode, we are sponsored by the great people over at Audible. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled to get your free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. They've got it's unfathomable how many books they actually have, audiobooks.
Unlimited audiobooks. I heard that there are so many audiobooks that you could listen to one nonstop for your entire life 100 times over. That is a fact certified by me.
Yeah, and all statistics, it's like 97% of statistics are made up on the spot. But that 3% right there, that's not made up, dude.
That's gold, and that's only that 3% is where I pull my stats.
So, Johnny, what's the book that you're going to recommend everybody listen to? You know, it's a very Christmassy month. It's a very giving month. Are you going to give people a good book to listen to, dude?
I am giving them one. I am actually giving them statistically the best book on Audible.
Okay.
And this is real. It's the highest rated audiobook on Audible. It's the sequel to At Night She Cries While He Rides His Steed, the first ever romance novel for dudes. This one is When Darkness Falls, He Doesn't Catch It, the second romance novel for dudes. Yes. Written by St. James Street James, starring St. James Street James, also known as Ross Patterson.
Best name ever, by the way.
Ross Patterson?
No,
or St. James Street James.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. So this one is following up with the Civil War. It's following the main character, St. James Street James, his activity during and through the Civil War, and building of the Great Railroad that spanned your moderately okay country. If you like books that are graphic, both in violence and sexual nature, if you like cowboys and Indians and trains,
I love that.
And copious amounts of drugs, and liberation of slaves. This book is for you. Highly entertaining. There's a bunch of Oscar recipients and nominated actors who voice act in this book, which is probably why it makes it so great. Though a lot of them signed NDAs so that their names wouldn't be actually attached to the book, because
but you can tell. You can tell.
You'll be able to pick them out for sure. And part of the reason why this was the case, there may or may not be a sex scene in this book involving Harriet Tubman. So I will leave that one to you guys. It is a must read, must listen. Absolute great conversation starter. If you have it on an airplane in a paperback, people will recognize the cover and they will ask you what that book's all about, and you want to be in the know. So definitely check it out on audibletrial.com/jumbled.
Absolutely. Hey, Johnny, thanks, buddy. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, Johnny.
That's my gift to you all. You're welcome.
Let's get back to the podcast.
All right.
Designer babies. That's crazy to think about.
Would you do it?
No, probably not.
Like how? I mean, so I don't.
I mean, again, it would be. It would. I mean, number one, it'll probably be stupid expensive at the beginning, just like anything.
At the beginning, yeah.
But like, I mean, it's dependent on if it like knocks out like a very large like percentage of inherited, or if it's just like on a case by case basis, like can I determine what I want my child to not suffer from,
Apparently, like, the theory is that, like, you could change, like, anything, like hair color, skin color, eye color, like height, because it's all like embedded in your DNA, right? Somewhere, like the genetic code, and like learning how like the body speaks, like the language of the body, and so they uncover this, and then they can do that. So I mean, I think that's a really cool idea from like a health perspective.
Yeah.
I've never had a kid, obviously, and you have two, but I imagine it's like a stressful period of like, because you have an idea that your baby's healthy, but until it like, even until it's born, like even once it's born, you have an idea, but then you don't know like developmentally, like there's so much that takes place in like the first like 10 years, I imagine, that you're like, it's a stressful time.
Yeah, it is. I'm just thinking like we're gonna end up having a society of LeBron Jameses, It's like
everyone's gonna come with like, how like old personal trainers would be like, bring me a body of like your favorite like actor and I'll get you there. And it's just going to be like, you're going to show up to your doctor like, I want to be LeBron James, and they just like inject you, and then like 6 months later you're like, what's up, I'm in the NBA.
Yeah. Well, think about how many people like were really good, like when you're out on the playground when you're younger, like how many people were really, really good at basketball, but you just knew they were never gonna like be 6'8", or you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
that would drastically change everything.
Like there's bone lengthening treatments now, but they're really long, they're expensive, extremely painful. You don't get like that much out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 6'3", so I've never like had to think about like, God, I wish I was taller. Though I do wish I was 1 inch taller. Or if I could like pull a Joe and get like 1 extra vertebrae or something. Just, like one more like middle spine vertebrae just to stretch me out like 1 inch. God, that'd be so beautiful.
That'd be pretty sweet, man. I'm not gonna lie and say I wouldn't take an extra vertebrae. You know what I'm saying? I think Joe's really got something that he's taken for granted.
Yeah.
He's not using it to his fullest potential. He needs to get those bones stretched out.
What a guy, eh? What a guy.
What a guy.
Those damn mutants.
Sorry, the Packers just lost.
I'm sorry. They're having a rough go since...
it was a good game. It was a good game this week. It was Pittsburgh, which is 8-2 going into this game, versus the 5-5 Packers. So we just lost by a field goal at the end. So
that's tough. I got back into fantasy again with a group of friends. And it's like completely ruined watching football for me, because now I only care about specific players rather than teams.
That's 100% why I stopped doing it. Like it just ruined it. Like it didn't. I enjoy watching football for football, and enjoying it and not having to keep track of numbers, Yeah,
that's fair. They tried to implement it for the CFL. I don't think it's doing very well.
They tried to implement
like a fantasy league, yeah. It's like, well, you have 9 quarterbacks to pick from, realistically.
You can't have more than 9 people in any fantasy league.
and then if your quarterback has a bye, I don't even know I think they get byes, or like he's injured, you're like, well, there goes my season. Like,
I'm just thinking, like with the NFL, it's like, there's so many different possible scheduling. There's so many different schedules that you could make that you never know. Like, you have to plan for a team that week. But if you're in the CFL, it's like, oh, we played them 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We know exactly how they play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing groundbreaking really happens in a week or two that you just played them.
Unless they have like defensive or offensive mastermind coaches, like just Bill Belichick style coaches. Just every single coordinator is just a genius at football, and they switch it up constantly.
Yeah,
is that how it goes?
No, I don't think so at all. So there was a quarterback. He used to play for Edmonton, which is my team, even though I live in Calgary. And he was like killing it in the CFL. And I think he got called up, I want to say, by San Diego. It was like, hey, you should come and like play on our practice roster and, you know, see how you do. And I guess he got just like absolutely destroyed down there. And then he came back. But he was basically like, I'm out of here. I've made the big leagues. I'm going to be rich. And then he lasted like a season out down there and then was like, I suck.
Yeah, I was thinking Jerome was going to do pretty well in the NFL. He got called down by the Dolphins a few seasons back, and I think he was on their, what is it? I forget how many people they can have on the squad before they have to trim it down to 52.
I think like a couple seasons ago, mentally he just wasn't where he needed to be. Yeah. But I saw him do an interview today, and I was like, respectable. I mean, awesome. he's getting like he's 30 now, right? He's 31 now, I think.
And that's pretty old for a running back. Like he's in the twilight of his career, most likely.
Which is weird to think about. But I mean, he had an amazing season with Calgary this year, and he's playing like really smart. So I think he can have a long career in the CFL. Honestly, like we had a quarterback that I think was playing until he was like 47 or something crazy. There is a hockey player who is playing hockey at the top level in the NHL at 40, which is like that's a freak of nature right there.
Sure. Yeah, it's you know, some people are just like genetically like crazy. Like you look at somebody like Adrian Peterson. Mm-hmm. He's 30. I want to say he's like 32, 33. A couple seasons ago, he had like a full ACL tear. In like his right leg or something like that, and he rehabbed it all year. And then the next year, he came back and was like one of the leading rushers of the league. It's just like some people are just genetically just insane
monsters.
Yeah.
Speaking of monsters, how have our numbers the past 2 days? I haven't scared anyone away yet, or last 2 days, last 2 weeks.
You know, overall, we're
sitting pretty.
We're sitting pretty, dude. I don't want to talk myself up too much here, but I really feel like I've come on pretty strong here in the past couple weeks, and I don't think it has anything to do with you joining. I think that it's all me.
I mean, probably. I mean, you are the host of the show.
No, you are a host as well, dude. Don't give me that nonsense. I don't have the stats directly in front of me because it's online.
I mean, I don't need the stats. I just want to know we're still doing good.
We're hanging in there, dude. I think we have a couple subscribers.
I heard a rumor that we were almost pushing ahead of Joe Rogan's podcast.
It was neck and neck for a second, and then I couldn't afford to pay those fake accounts to keep subscribing. So
is that how they do it? Do you think? No, I don't think Joe Rogan. So
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's how he does it. I'm just saying that's how we caught up to him. That's all I was saying.
Wow.
No, Joe Rogan has a thing called talent, and
so I tried to listen to his podcast. I want to say like 3 years ago now. 4 years ago?
They're long, dude. You have to like buckle in. Like you have to like notch out a good amount of your day.
He has like 8 minutes of sponsors in the beginning, which I mean, good for him. But yeah, I couldn't like get into it, and I just think I was kind of new into my like podcasting, like what I wanted and my style. And I kind of like tried to listen to a couple, but couldn't stick with it, and then left it. And then I would say in the past 6 months, there's been some really cool guests that I've been listening to him more regularly. And I don't listen to every episode, but I'm like, wow, like, one, to be able to do like a 3-hour podcast with someone, that's insane.
Yeah, it's really nuts.
And to do it twice a week?
Yeah, hats off to him. I mean, I know he's not doing, like, all he has to do is just notch out 3 hours of his day. He's not editing the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
so it's
true.
like, so it's probably not that big of a deal as long as you have, like, some stuff to talk about with your guest. You know what I'm saying? Like,
let's try and get Joe Rogan on our podcast, because there's a thing called the Joe Rogan bump in the podcast world, and it's if he mentions your podcast or you're
is that
a guest
an actual
on,
thing?
Yeah, it is. It's they've proven it that if you get mentioned, because he's really like vocal about which podcast he shares, and actually in one of his recent ones he was talking about how that's like the really cool and exciting thing about like this internet media, social media, like podcasting world, is that everyone is so supportive, where like you wouldn't see that on competing TV or radio networks, right? Like they'd never be like, oh, Zach's show on like channel 92 is fantastic, but you know, keep listening to us on 101.
Yeah.
But like in the podcast world, it's like, yeah, like listen to this, listen to that, or I heard this.
Yeah.
But when he does that and he mentions other podcasts, or if you come on a guest, you get like a huge jump in your listeners for a handful of weeks. I think it's like the Sports Illustrated effect. I'm sure you maintain some, but like,
sure,
you know,
that'd be pretty sick, man. I would be okay with him mentioning our podcast.
I'm gonna go out on
we have a
complete
bit
limb.
of sorry.
No, I'm gonna go on a complete limb. I'm gonna email him, be like, hey, my boy Zach and I were episode 38, 39.
39.
As if we make it to 100, which we will.
Sure. Yeah.
Can we interview you for our 100th episode?
Dude, how awesome would that be? I have a feeling it would go terribly though. Like I'd be so ill prepared. Like I would just be quiet the whole time.
I would prep so much for that. I'd have so much to ask him about his life. Like, I don't know how much you know about him or what he's like really into right now. But
he's huge into, obviously he does all the UFC stuff, but he also trains. He's in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, well, he's been in martial arts for his entire life, basically. In his last one, he talked a bit about him, because he was talking about how, like, all comedians are fucked up in one way or another.
Sure.
And he had a couple comedians that he was, like, interviewing, talking with, and they're like, oh, okay, well, like, how are you fucked up? And he was like, anger. He's like, I have a hair trigger for anger, but I cope with it by like practicing martial arts and working out and
smoking
like,
weed.
getting that and yeah, he smokes a lot of weed, and other things, you know, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But he does it like, I don't know. He's kind of this weird spiritual guy that takes it, like, looks at things from interesting points of view, and like, I mean, he's really smart, but he talks to a lot of smart people, and he obviously can retain knowledge really well.
Yeah.
I should probably, you know, stop sucking Joe Rogan's D. But
no, I saw a video of him doing like a spinning back kick. I'm not sure if that's what it's called.
Oh yeah, on the bag to show,
dude,
like how much snap and force.
So nuts. Like,
he's a beast.
If you get hit by Joe Rogan, like a Joe Rogan kick, like you're down. Like that's it. He was showing. Oh God, what's his name? He just came back for a UFC fight. He retired a couple years back, and then he just came back. What's his name? I hate this so much. He's a really technical fighter.
Is he Canadian?
I think so.
George St. Pierre?
That's it, GSP. He was showing GSP this kick in one of his videos.
and it's just like folding that heavy bag.
Yeah, and GSP was like legitimately like, you know how like I wouldn't be giving LeBron James like basketball pointers, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But he was like literally taking in this information that Joe Rogan was giving him, because it was like he's a technical fighter. Number one, he wants to understand how it works, but number two is like just the way that Joe throws that kick. There's so much force behind it that is like, oh, you got to pay attention. You know, like you have to.
Even if you block that in some way, like that's gonna be a bad day.
No,
you got to dodge that. Like
you have to anticipate and distance yourself. Like that's basically all you can do.
So, anyways, I'm gonna send that email.
Please do, yeah.
And episode 100, we want to interview him even for like 15 minutes. If we can get him for an hour, that'd be amazing.
Dude, I'd do the Joe Rogan interview for like 5 minutes. It's like just like a 5 minute, like just a power 5 minutes where we just sort of just as much stuff as we can get from Joe Rogan. That would be amazing.
I would have so many questions for him because he's really into psychedelics and like aliens and like other dimensions and like martial arts. It'd be endless.
Yeah, there's I can't remember what the guy's name is. He's on there frequently, but he's like a conspiracy theorist. And Joe is always like just giving him a hard time for always constantly.
That's what I really like about him. I think he like sometimes, if you don't really listen to a lot of his podcasts, you can be like, oh, he's really conservative, like screw that guy.
Yeah.
Or you could be like, oh, he's like really lefty hippie, like smoking weed all the time, screw that guy. But if you actually like listen to a bunch, he's really like pragmatic and like center of the line. And 100%. He's like, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense on both sides.
You're full of shit. Yeah, he's not afraid to call people out.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it when he has people. If you want to listen to a really like funny Joe Rogan podcast, it's also kind of sad and very cringeworthy. Listen to the Tom DeLonge one.
Dude, I didn't listen to it, but I saw it on I guess I sort of listened to it, but I mostly watched it on YouTube, and he said absolutely nothing. Like there was no substance in that interview. Tom DeLonge saying he knew things about like the government was like holding out from the rest of the populace. It's like
Joe's like, why did they need you? He's like, well, they need a spokesperson. He's like, yeah, but like why you? Like they don't have like communications people. Like they need this like washed up rock star.
Tom DeLonge, yeah,
who like constantly makes penis jokes.
That's so funny. He's like,
oh, but he was so just like, all right, man, like, okay.
He really rolled with it, but I feel like I didn't watch it to the end, but I feel like it could have definitely ended up at the point where he was like, all right, I feel like this is all just bullshit, Tom. Like, and that's the thing about Joe, like you said,
I'm real high right now, but I'm not that high.
He's not afraid, like you said, he's not afraid to call people out and sort of just like tell them how it is. So yeah. I think that's why his podcast is as popular as it is. He just does not care.
Man, you know, it'd be sweet if he like says like, yeah, come to my studio, record in my studio.
Dude, yeah, you gotta go out to trip out to LA. Yeah, he'd be like, oh, here's some dudes who you don't know and you won't care about. I mean, and my numbers are gonna suffer, and that's okay.
No, we don't want to be on his podcast. He's gonna be on ours. Like he would never have to mention ours.
Oh, gotcha.
Just be like, hey, I just want to chat with you.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, definitely not us on his. That would be pointless. I don't think neither of us are interesting enough to spend 3 hours with Joe Rogan.
Not yet.
We need a lot more life happenings to make up for that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, he's been doing this podcast for years. He's on over 1,000. Just hit like episode 1,000 during the summer, I think, sometime. So, I mean,
do you know how old he is?
My guess is Joe Rogan is 51, 52.
I think he's like 50 to 52.
Yeah.
And I remember like someone saying that to me and be like, no, he's not that old.
No, he doesn't look like he's that old.
He's 50.
Yeah.
He's 50 right now. But yeah, he's like...
I knew he was pretty similar to Brian Callen's age. Brian Callen, he's been on the Joe Rogan podcast a bunch too, but he's usually there whenever they do like the fight companions or whatever.
Yeah, I like those ones.
But
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna send that email.
All right, man. Deal.
I'm gonna send it every week. Joe, episode 40.
Joe.
Yo, Joe, 41.
Never heard a response from you, Joe. Definitely need a response.
69, baby.
Dude, when we get to episode 69, it's gonna be pretty nuts.
So one of the other podcasts that I listen to, for their episode 100. They got an Airbnb in Colorado.
Yeah.
And got two strangers, consenting strangers, that were not paid for this interaction to have sex in front of them. And they like, for an hour, and they did live play-by-play during their podcast. So they were like half doing their podcast, but then also like doing play-by-play of these two strangers just going at it.
Dude, that's the best idea I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, it was so funny and so awkward and amazing. And
amazing.
One of the guys like apparently was just so embarrassed, like he was just like, I can't deal with this right now. And they'd be like, oh, he made eye contact with me. And then so for episode 200, they were trying to top that.
I don't know how you top
well,
that or how
they
you
had an idea,
it.
and our podcast is unrated, right? Like how?
No, we're not. I mean, we have an explicit tag, so.
Okay, awesome. So their idea, which I was so sad didn't happen, it was going to be Glory Hole Roulette. And it was going to be, they were going to get like 5 guys to like play this game.
I love this so much.
And then it'd be a glory hole, like a wall. They're going to build like a fake wall with a glory hole. And then on the backside, they were going to do a mixture. I mean, the guys in the front were going to be straight or gay, so it's not like singling anyone out.
Sure.
And then on the other side, it was going to be like straight women or gay guys. And you spin a wheel. So everyone behind the wall just had a color, so you didn't know what you got. And you got a blowy. And then you had to like rate the blowy, and then you found out if it was a guy or a girl.
Wow. That would be interesting.
Apparently there were some legal issues with that one, and then they didn't quite get the uptake.
I mean,
they had a lot of people wanting to be on the back side of the wall, surprisingly, but not a lot of people wanting to play the game.
Well, I mean,
but I guess... would you do that? Like, if it was a 10% chance that it was a dude, would you spin that? Would you spin that wheel?
No, don't think I would.
I definitely would. Fuck it.
And that's the difference between you and me, Johnny.
Oh, that's so true.
That is the difference.
I'm questionable at best anyways. But yeah, I was so sad. But they did some other funny things. But I mean, they're definitely a podcast that don't care.
Yeah. And
just kind of go with it. But yeah, I was just like, that episode 100 was just like, is this really happening?
Dude, that's so silly.
I also think they had like a twister board of like different moves and positions that they had to do.
Do you recall off the top of your head what any of those were?
I think there was like pretty standard, like doggy style, like reverse cowgirl, missionary, and like whatever. And then they kept score of orgasms, which was also really funny. And then,
dude, that's not fair. Like, it would happen so much more for the females. Like, if you're like me, it's like, once it's like, and sorry if any of my family hears this, but like, it's just like, once that happens, like, I'm good for like, you know, I try to get it out of the way early, and then, you know,
and then
I'm set for like another hour, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good strategy. At the end, the guy, because I think he was like 7-4, like she had 7, he had 4, and he was going, and he was like, guys, I don't think I can orgasm again. Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, it's okay, man. But he was like, you're a machine, like 4 times in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Like, what are you, 13-year-old boy? Like,
yeah, I think you almost have to be at that point. Like, I don't know that I'd be able to do for that long, you know?
Or with someone else in the room. Like, God, that'd just be so weird.
Yeah, I feel like that. But since they were strangers, like, there's a whole different level to that, you know? So
yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
I'm never going to have to see these people again. Like, okay, it'll be okay.
So episode 69, we need to do something like that. I'll come to you.
Okay.
We'll play spin the bottle between me and you.
Man, it's going to be super interesting, dude.
Episode 100, Joe Rogan. Okay, we got a good schedule kicking up here.
Yeah, we do. Well, hey, I think at this point, I don't know where we can go conversation-wise any longer.
Just end it there.
Yeah.
Fans, listeners, if any of you know Joe Rogan or like a friend of a friend of a friend of his neighbor,
Yeah.
let us know any inside track. But that's going to be my goal is episode 100, something to do with Joe Rogan.
Something to do with Joe Rogan on episode 100. That's the goal, and we'll strive for it. We'll see where we get where we land.
Gonna go hard in the paint on that one.
There we go, man. All right. Well, hey.
Wait. When episode 100 is like 62 weeks away?
Yeah. Yeah. So we got over a year.
So it'll be like.
It would be
February, March.
Yeah, something like that. Late winter, early spring of 2019.
19.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think that's reasonable. We can get to
Yeah, for sure.
We'll be so big by then, he'll be asking to come on ours.
Let's hope so, man. I sure hope that's the case. But you know,
we need to get some sponsors.
We do. And speaking of sponsors, if you guys want us to get some more sponsors, and we hope you do, head over to iTunes and rate and review us. It helps us out. It gets our name out there a little bit more, and shows our sponsors that we have a listenership that cares.
What are we at for reviews right now?
We're at 7, but only 6 people have written something. But we're at a pristine 5 stars. Nobody's. Nope.
It's not public yet, though, right? It's at public at 10?
No. I think right now, if anybody who hadn't subscribed to us before goes onto iTunes and searches Jumbled, they would come across our podcast and be able to see our rating, because I think it's just 5. Like, it doesn't show a rating until there's 5. Okay. Because that's
5.
what we had to do to get our Audible sponsorship. And speaking of Audible,
which thank you, Audible.
Yeah, thank you very much for sponsoring us. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled. Get your free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. Who doesn't want that? Johnny loves it. Johnny's creating fake emails all over the place just to get his... No, I'm just kidding. He's not doing that. He's not, because then I would be getting paid money for fake stuff, and that's not happening. So I just want to point that out. And we're obviously on every other podcast thing that you could look up. Google Play Music. We're on Stitcher, Player.fm, which is very vague one that I'm sure like only 2 people use. But hey, those 2 people are important to us. So
absolutely.
So we're on there, and then all social media is just search for Jumbled Podcast. And then any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to give us Joe Rogan's phone number, send it over to jumbledpodcast@gmail.com. And I'm
going to tag him in this week's episode post.
Dude, go for it. Please do. Please do.
I love it.
Should I just title the episode "Hey Joe Rogan"?
Yes, please do. Oh my god.
Okay. This week's podcast, obviously you see what it is, but anyway.
Joe Rogan, Zach will take your spinning heel kick to the testes for episode 100.
I'm not going to use them anymore. I'm all done. So hey, whatever. God, that would be the worst.
I'll hold you tenderly.
I mean, if we can record it, like, that's all I care about. Like, if we could just record it and then put it on our podcast page, that thing is going to go viral so quick that it's not even gonna, like, it does not matter. Like, I will take a kick from Joe Rogan to the groin, and it'll be 100% okay. I might suffer some damage, some nerve damage, some internal bleeding, some crushed body parts and organs, but
just a small case of death.
But you know what? I'll recover maybe 90%, and then we'll be, I'll only a 10% hit for all those hits. Man, I'm down.
Worth.
Anyway, check back next week, guys, for another episode of Jumbled, your favorite podcast. Johnny, about what?
Nothing?
Canadian football? Joe Rogan? What is it?
It's a good episode.
Good episode. See you guys.